The European Championship final has just ended, and one image captures the magnitude of what the football world has witnessed. 19-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, tears streaming down his face. These aren't tears of frustration or anger. These are tears of disbelief. Ronaldo has just watched something that defied every statistical model, every expert prediction, every law of football physics.
Greece, a team that entered the tournament with 150-1 odds, a nation that had never won a single match at a major tournament, has just defeated Portugal to become European champions.
The hosts, the golden generation, Figo, Rui Costa, a teenage phenom named Ronaldo, all of them beaten by a team nobody believed could win a single game. But this story doesn't begin with Greece's impossible triumph. It begins 6 years earlier with an achievement that was mathematically more improbable than anything that happened in Portugal. The story of Otto Rehhagel, the man Bayern Munich deemed not sophisticated enough, who responded by achieving the impossible not once, but twice.
This is the story of how being the outsider became the ultimate superpower.
Meet Otto Rehhagel. As a player, he was the definition of solid but unremarkable. A defender who understood the game's fundamentals, but never reached the heights of stardom.
His coaching philosophy reflected this background: tactical discipline over creativity, preparation over improvisation, collective strength over individual genius. By the mid-1990s, this approach had yielded respectable success. Werder Bremen became Bundesliga champions in 1993 under his methodical guidance, a career built on substance, never style.
When Bayern Munich fired him on April 27, 1996, after just one season, it wasn't just a professional setback, it was a brutal rejection of everything he represented. 4 days before the UEFA Cup final, the message was crystal clear.
You don't belong here, Otto. You're not sophisticated enough. You don't speak multiple languages. You're not glamorous. You're not one of us. Picture that moment, after decades of working his way up through football's ranks, finally getting his chance at Germany's biggest club, only to be told he simply wasn't good enough for their world. Throughout every rejection, every dismissal, every moment when the football elite turned their backs on him, his wife Beati remained his unwavering anchor. She attended nearly every match, celebrating the triumphs and consoling him through the setbacks.
When the football world rejected me, Otto once reflected, my family never did. Can you relate to this?
We've all felt like outsiders. We've all been in situations where we felt we didn't belong, where others made us feel like we weren't enough. But watch what happens when you refuse to change who you are. 1996. Kaiserslautern, a proud club that had fallen on the hardest of times, relegated to Germany's second division, financially ruined, facing potential bankruptcy. The fans were devastated, the players demoralized. This was a team that existed to make up the numbers.
They offered their coaching job to the man Bayern Munich had just discarded, like yesterday's newspaper. Think about this for a moment. For most coaches in Otto's position, this would represent the absolute bottom, career suicide. Take a broken, relegated team with no money and somehow make them competitive against the financial powerhouses of German football. But Otto saw something else entirely, something that would change the course of football history. He saw a chance to prove that being underestimated, being dismissed, being written off is actually the greatest gift you can receive.
What if the very qualities that made the elite reject him, his straightforward approach, his belief in hard work over glamour, his faith in discarded players, were exactly what broken teams needed to become champions? Everyone had the same question. Could a coach rejected by the elite really save a team that belonged in the second division? The odds were astronomical. No newly promoted team had ever won the Bundesliga, ever. The financial gap was enormous. The talent disparity seemed insurmountable.
The history was clear. Newly promoted teams were supposed to fight relegation, not compete for titles.
But sometimes, when everyone tells you something is impossible, when every expert predicts failure, when conventional wisdom says you should accept your limitations, that's exactly when you should try it. Otto made a decision that would change football history. He wouldn't try to become what the elite wanted. He wouldn't apologize for his straightforward methods or his working class background. Instead, he turned his outsider status into his secret weapon. This is how he did it. Twice. Otto's first move revealed everything about his philosophy and why he would succeed where others failed. While modern coaches obsessed over young, fast players with impressive statistics, Otto saw something different in 33-year-old Miroslav Kadlec.
Here was a Czech veteran that other teams considered finished. Too old, too slow, a relic from football's past. But when Otto looked at Kadlec, he saw intelligence, experience, and the kind of tactical awareness that money simply cannot buy.
I don't need speed, I need intelligence. Otto understood something fundamental. Sometimes the old ways, when applied with wisdom and purpose, can devastate the new. The season started with the kind of statement that would become Otto's trademark. Opening day, away to Bayern Munich, the very club that had fired him and declared him not good enough for elite football. The irony was perfect. The rejected coach returning to face his former employers with a team of supposed misfits and discards.
Michael Schoenberg's header in the 73rd minute secured a shocking 1-0 victory. Bayern Munich, Germany's most successful club, loaded with international stars and unlimited resources, had been beaten by a newly promoted team led by the coach they'd thrown away. Bayern was stunned.
The football world was stunned. But this was just the beginning of something unprecedented. Look at this incredible statistic. Throughout the entire 1997-98 season, Kaiserslautern never dropped below second place in the Bundesliga table. Not once. Think about that. A newly promoted team playing with a fraction of their competitors' resources, maintaining championship form for an entire season.
When Bayern Munich came to Kaiserslautern in December for the return fixture, something magical happened. Otto's men didn't just compete, they dominated their former tormentors, winning 2-0.
The same Bayern team that had dismissed Otto as not good enough was now being systematically outplayed by his tactical mastery. The numbers tell an incredible story. Bayern's squad was valued at over 160 million Deutsche Marks. Kaiserslautern's entire team cost just 74 million Deutsche Marks. Otto was working with less than half the resources, but he had something that money couldn't buy. Players who had been written off, just like him, fighting for redemption and respect. Every match became a statement. Every victory was proof that the football establishment had got it wrong. These weren't just games, they were acts of rebellion against a system that valued pedigree over passion. On May 9th, 1998, on the penultimate match day of the season, they thrashed Wolfsburg 4-0 to clinch the title. The impossible had happened. The absolutely, categorically, statistically impossible. The newly promoted team were champions of Germany. It had never happened before. It hasn't happened since. It may never happen again. Bayern's brutal rejection had been transformed into the sweetest of triumphs. The working-class coach from Essen had conquered German football using nothing but intelligence, organization, and an unshakable belief in the power of the underestimated. But here's what nobody realized at the time, including Otto himself. This wasn't his destiny. This magnificent achievement, this historical first, this moment of perfect vindication, it was just his training ground. Because the greatest test of an outsider's strength isn't proving you belong in your own world. Anyone can adapt to familiar surroundings, speak the same language, understand the same culture. The ultimate test is proving you can transform someone else's world entirely. What Otto didn't know was that his greatest challenge, his most impossible mission, was waiting for him 1,500 miles southeast, in a country where they played football with passion but had never, ever won. In 2001, Otto Rehhagel accepted what many considered the most impossible job in international football. He took charge of Greece, a footballing nation with a record of failure so complete, so comprehensive, that it defied belief. If managing Kaiserslautern had been career suicide, this was football burial. Greece hadn't just never won a major tournament, they had never won a single match at a major tournament. Their record was a catalogue of disappointment. Euro 1980, eliminated in the group stage without a single victory. World Cup 1994, 3 defeats, scored 0 goals. Euro 2004 would be only their second European Championship appearance ever. And Otto, the man who was supposed to transform this footballing wasteland, he didn't speak Greek, he barely spoke English, describing his communication skills as
criminal English.
Imagine the challenge, trying to implement complex tactical concepts, build team chemistry, and inspire confidence in a language you can barely speak. The cultural clash was immediate and profound. Greek players were accustomed to a more relaxed, expressive style of football. They played with flair, created creativity and individual brilliance. Otto brought something completely alien: Germanic discipline, methodical preparation, and systematic organization. It was like trying to force a river to flow uphill.
Πάει, λέει ο Γερμανός, έχει τρελαθεί εντελώς, λέει, με αυτά που λέει σήμερα.
Two completely different football philosophies, two different approaches to the game, two different ways of seeing what football should be.
The players thought his methods were too rigid, too German, recalled assistant coach Yornis Topalidis, who became Otto's vital bridge between two worlds. But Otto had this incredible ability to adapt his leadership while maintaining his core principles.
Slowly, grudgingly, something began to change. Otto started learning key Greek phrases.
Όταν εγώ το απόλυτο control αισθάνομαι σίγουρος.
He began to understand the Mediterranean approach to time, becoming less rigid about punctuality. He embraced the Greek custom of long tactical discussions over coffee. He was becoming something unprecedented, a German coach with a Greek heart. But when Euro 2004 arrived, reality hit like a cold snap. Greece were drawn in what the media immediately dubbed the Group of Death. Hosts Portugal with their golden generation, Spain with their technical brilliance, and Russia with their physical power. The bookmakers gave Greece odds of 150-1 to win the tournament.
Even the players themselves couldn't believe they could advance beyond the group stage. Nobody expected, us included, that we would make it past the first round, admitted striker Angelo Charisteas, the gentle giant who would soon become an unlikely hero.
Standing at 6 feet 4 inches, Charisteas embodied Greece's transformation under Otto. Before Rehhagel's arrival, he was just a big striker who sometimes scored goals. Otto taught me how to use my strength with intelligence, Charisteas later reflected. He made me understand that being physically imposing wasn't enough. I needed to think like a complete footballer. 3 years of painstaking work, 3 years of trying to bridge cultures, languages, and completely different football philosophies. 3 years of building something from nothing, of taking a team that had never won and trying to make them believe they could conquer Europe. And now, standing on the biggest stage in European football, with 60 million Greeks watching back home, and the entire football world expecting humiliation, Otto faced the ultimate test of everything he believed about the power of being different. The weight of it all must have been crushing. What if he'd been deluding himself? What if he'd confused stubborn determination with genuine strength? What if being the outsider wasn't a superpower, but simply being the outsider? The media had already written Greece's obituary. The pundits predicted embarrassment. Even sympathetic observers expected nothing more than noble failure. In these moments of deepest doubt, Otto must have wondered, had he confused stubbornness with strength? Was he about to humiliate not just himself, but an entire nation that had dared to dream? After all those years of being told he wasn't sophisticated enough for Bayern, wasn't glamorous enough for the elite, wasn't good enough for the big stage, what if they had been right all along? Picture him alone in his hotel room in Portugal, perhaps looking out at the Mediterranean night, thinking about Bayat back home, about the players sleeping fitfully down the hall, about 60 million Greeks who had never seen their national team win anything meaningful. After decades of fighting to prove that being different was a strength, what if this was the moment when reality finally caught up with the dream? But then Otto realized something that changed everything. His entire life, people had tried to make him into something he wasn't. Everyone wanted him to be different. But what if being exactly who he was, the straightforward, uncompromising outsider, was precisely what was needed? What if all those years of rejection had been preparing him for this exact moment? Otto stopped trying to be what others wanted. He embraced being the outsider completely, and his players felt it.
Για να δούμε με δίνω με το δεξί. Γκολ! 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 Η Ελλάδα ανοίγει στην ομάδα. Γκολ! Γκολ! 2-0! 2-0 είμαστε κοντά στο θαύμα. Τελείωσε το τελικό! Γιώργη μπροστά. Ρίγος και Χαριστέας και ο Δέλλας. Γκολ! 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 Το κάρφωσε!
Opening game, Portugal 2-1 defeated. The hosts were stunned. The impossible had begun. What followed was a masterclass in tactical discipline and mental strength that shocked the football world. In the quarterfinals, they faced the mighty France, the defending European champions, loaded with world-class talent like Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane, and Patrick Vieira. France had everything: technique, experience, individual brilliance. But Otto's Greece had something else. They had become a team that understood exactly who they were and what they could achieve together. Final score, Greece 1, France 0. The defending champions were going home. In the semi-finals came the Czech Republic, considered by many to be the most technically gifted team in the tournament. Pavel Nedved, one of the world's greatest midfielders, leading a team of exceptional individual talents. The match went to extra time. In the 105th minute, Traianos Delis scored a silver goal. Greece had reached the final of a major tournament for the first time in their history.
Throughout this impossible run, Otto's defensive organisation had been nothing short of perfect. In 6 matches, Greece had conceded just 4 goals, and 3 of those came in the group stage when they were still finding their rhythm. The final, a rematch against host Portugal. In the 57th minute, Angelo Caristias rose to head home a corner kick.
The gentle giant had become a European Championship hero. That was Greece's only shot on target in the entire match. One chance, one goal, one moment of perfect execution when it mattered most. For 33 agonizing, beautiful, impossible minutes, Portugal threw everything they had at Otto's defensive wall. Luis Felipe Scolari, the coach who had won the World Cup with Brazil just 2 years earlier, made substitution after substitution, bringing on attacker after attacker.
The pressure was relentless. Wave after wave of Portuguese attacks crashed against Greece's organised defence like ocean waves against an immovable cliff. Rui Costa's creativity, Luis Figo's experience, young Ronaldo's pace and skill, all of it focused on breaking down what Otto had built.
And there, on the sideline, stood Otto Rehhagel, not pacing frantically like Scolari, not shouting desperate instructions, just watching, calm, composed. The outsider who had finally discovered exactly where he belonged. Right here, in this moment of impossible pressure, leading a team of players who had learned to believe in the power of being different. This wasn't just about football anymore. This was about every person who had ever been told they didn't belong. Every dreamer who had been dismissed as unrealistic. Every outsider who had been made to feel that their differences were weaknesses rather than strengths. The final whistle confirmed it.
Greece, 150-1 outsiders, were champions of Europe. And Cristiano Ronaldo cried, not just because he lost, but because he had witnessed something impossible become reality.
Right, so Otto Rehhagel proved that the most powerful force in football isn't money or talent or connections, right? It's the ability to turn being different into being unstoppable. The combined probability of both his achievements, Kaiserslautern and Greece, is, mathematically incalculable.
Today, Otto lives quietly in Germany, but his lesson lives on, doesn't it? The next time someone tells you that you don't belong, remember the nobody who made Ronaldo cry. Remember Otto Rehhagel, who achieved the impossible not once, but twice, through systematic preparation, tactical intelligence, and the courage to be exactly who he was.
Sometimes, being the outsider is exactly what the world needs, innit?